Welcome back. We are now going to start adding data to our account to reflect our actual financial position. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the Tools area and we're going to click Add an Account. Now, typically, the first thing we're going to enter will be our cash on hand. And so we want to go ahead and just click this cash button. And we're going to actually just write in here whatever we want to call the cash account. You can call it cash account or cash on hand. Now, you will be able to add other cash accounts if there is more than one person who is working with this particular Quicken file. So for example, if you and a significant other are operating your business together, you can actually write in several cash on accounts. So what you can do in that case is just write in where this is. You can then designate primarily how the account is going to be used. And so what we can do is we can then say that this account is going to primarily be used for business. And then we can then click Next. Now, typically your best practice is that you're going to start pulling reports. Now, typically you're going to start pulling reports at the point at which you create your Quicken account. So you can write in the cash on hand that you have at the point at which you're creating the account. You can either go back in time or you can go back to the beginning of the month. So in this particular case, we're just going to assume that the cash on hand right now is $136. And once you've entered that number, you're then going to click Next. And then you'll have your first account ready inside of Quicken. Now, let's say that you actually discover that you have more than $136 when you open the account. And you discover that you had $10 more and you had that $10 10 days before. So how would we handle that? We then want to look at our account page by going to this link. We then want to open up the business account. And then we want to click on Thomas's cash on hand. We then come to this account page. And what we want to do is we actually want to edit this amount. We want to change this to an earlier date. So we're actually going to change our opening balance as well as our opening date. So let's do that right now. We then go to this opening balance. And then what we're going to do is we're actually going to click on the date. We're going to change this now to 10 days earlier. And we're going to walk this to the 5th. And then once we change that date, we are then going to click the Save button. And then we're saying that we're actually going to record a transfer back into the Save account. We're going to click Yes, Save anyway. Now you'll note that because we're actually going back to change a password, it's going to require us to enter that password that we set up. So we're going to go ahead and put that password in. And then we're going to click OK. And you're going to notice then that the date has then changed to the 5th. We're also going to do now is we're going to change the amount, and we're just going to click inside of the amount. We're going to write in the $10 more and make this now $146 that we started with on the 5th. We're going to click Save. And then Quicken's going to give us this warning message. We're going to click Yes. Again, because we are editing a transaction that has actually already occurred, we're going to be required to put that password in again. And we're going to click OK. And you'll notice now that we have changed our cash on hand to the day that we reflected. We know that we had $146. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. We are now going to add in a standard PayPal account. And so in order to do that, we're then going to go to the Tools menu. We're going to go and click Add an Account. And then what we're going to do is we're actually going to click the checking account. We're then going to write in the name of our financial institution, and we're just going to write in PayPal. You'll notice then that you have your PayPal account there. You're then going to click PayPal. Quicken will then ask you for the name that you normally use to log into PayPal, as well as the password, and then you'll want to save this inside of Quicken. So you can go ahead and write in your login and password for PayPal. And once you've done that, you can click Save this password. You'll then be required to enter your Vault password. And then once you do that, you will then click the Connect button. Quicken will then start looking for your account at PayPal to begin looking for the transaction data. Quicken will then find this information. You can then designate how you want this to be classified. So for example, if you want to classify it as a savings account, you can do that, but typically you would classify it as a checking account. You can then choose as to whether or not you're going to have the data added. So you can actually choose not to download all of the data into Quicken. You will still have your account connected, and then at a point at which you designate, you can have your account transaction pulled into Quicken. But since what we're going to do is we're going to choose a point in time to create a financial statement, it's actually okay to go back and have data from the past added to your Quicken. So in most cases, you're going to leave this checked where it says Add to Quicken. We're going to write a nickname for that account, and we can actually edit that where it says nickname. And then we can designate how this account is primarily used. And so we're going to then click Business. And what this does is this actually will associate certain transactions with business-related categories as they come across from Quicken. So what we're going to do now is we're now going to click the Next button. Quicken will then start adding the transaction data. You'll then see that your PayPal has then been added. You'll also note that it has been synced to the Quicken Cloud, where you can also access from your mobile device. Once you've done that, you'll then click Finish. Quicken will then sync your data. You'll then get a message that your data has been synced to the cloud as well as to your account. Then PayPal and all the transactions typically that you've had over the last 90 days will then be entered into Quicken. And you will then have this data that you will have ready that you can start working with. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. We are now going to go through a step that you will be going through every time that you download transactions into your Quicken. You'll want to do it at the beginning when you first download transactions, and then you'll want to do it on a regular basis when you start bringing transactions over. And that is determining what category an event actually is. So what you'll need to do is you'll need to go through each transaction. And initially, this was going to be a lot of work when you first pull transactions over. Obviously, when you're doing less and you're doing this more frequently, it won't be as much work. So all you'll need to do is to come to the category area. When you notice a transaction, you will bring this drop down arrow. And then what you're going to do is you're going to determine what it actually is. If it is business income, you're going to click this link. And then you might determine that it is one of the categories that Quicken has already given you. However, what you could do is you could create a new category. And if that is the case, then what you're going to want to do is to click this blue button that says New Category. You're then going to write in the name of the category that you're going to be tracking. You'll determine if it is an income or an expense. And then you'll also determine if it is a subcategory. So maybe perhaps you already have an income category or an expense category, and you like for this new category to just be a subcategory of the one that's already there. If that's the case, what you're going to do is you're going to click this button, and then you'll use the drop down arrow to find the subcategory. And Quicken has a list of those that are already embedded in the program. It's a good idea to write in a description of what this category actually is. And once you determine what you're going to do, you're going to make sure that your descriptions are what they say they are. You briefly want to take a look at the tax reporting tab. Now, in general, when you are setting up these categories, you do want to check with your tax professional, since the reports you'll be using, you'll be passing on to them at the end of the year or at the point of a tax year. So as you determine what tax-related category you're going to determine this to be, make sure that you're checking with the person that's actually going to be working on your taxes. So once we've done that, we're going to click Save. What you're then going to do is you'll go through each transaction when you pull them over. And again, this is going to be the case as you do this on a regular basis. You're going to determine what the transaction actually is. So in the one case, everything on the deposit side will tend to be income transactions. Everything on the right side will be expense transactions. And again, you will be determining how you categorize these transactions. You want to try to be consistent so that when you start doing reports, you'll know what you are looking at. So for example, when you determine that there's a fee, you can just actually go and search for the category if you think it's already in Quicken. And when you do the search, Quicken will bring up a list of the fees or whatever it is that you are searching for that is available. And then you'll be able to just click the link to determine this to be something that's already there. So now once you've decided on an account's category, all you'll then need to do is then sync this to your Quicken account. And you can do that by going to the one-step update, and then you can just do a one-step update either of all your accounts or just the one that you're working on. In this particular case, this is the PayPal standard account. You'll get a warning notification from Quicken, and then you're going to click Update Now. Quicken will watch the progress, and your account is then updated, and you can click Close. So then you will have updated one entire account once you have actually brought transactions in. And you'll want to do this for every account that you bring over initially, and you'll also want to do this on a regular basis as you update the account. Now, obviously, you're going to be doing this more with your revenue accounts as well as your main expense accounts. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video. Welcome back. Now, there are a couple of special scenarios to think about when you are going to add in a PayPal for Business account. So if you were to go to the Tools menu and you would click Add Account, and then you were going to add in another checking account, and you were going to add in another PayPal account. You'd click PayPal, and then Quicken will actually be looking for either the email address that you use to log into PayPal or your PayPal password. Now, in some cases, you might run into a scenario where your user ID will not be accepted by Quicken. When that's the case, you're going to get an error message from Quicken, typically because your email address may be too long in order to create the kind of PayPal ID that will be accepted by Quicken. And so what you'll need to do when you have a business PayPal account is to log into that account to create a PayPal user ID. You are then going to log in and go to the profile section. When you get to the profile section, you're going to go to this link that says My Settings. That's going to bring you to the settings area of your profile page. When you do that, you're going to click this update link where it says Manage Users. Once you're in that screen, you are then going to click Add User. And then you're going to create a user ID and password for the Quicken account that you're going to be using. Once you have all the data in, you're then going to click Continue. You'll then determine permissions, and typically what you're going to want to set up is a virtual agent. That'll give you the ability to use this ID to schedule and download transaction history and run a settlement report. Once you've done that, you'll then click Continue. Once you've completed this, you can click Done, then you can then go back to Quicken. You're then going to use your new user ID as well as your new password. Once you've done that, you'll click Save this password, and then you'll click Connect. You will then have connected your PayPal for Business account. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video.